Good evening. As every night, it is time for Flash News, the newest events from around the world, straight from the heart of Europe, Poland, Warsaw. We start with Lublin. A meeting of the leaders of the countries of the V4 group took place. The appeal for free elections and the announcement of a consistent fight for democracy in Belarus were the main topics of the meeting of the prime ministers of Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, and Slovakia. The debate also focused on the fight against coronavirus and economic consequences of the pandemic.
Creating a support plan for Belarusians is a serious task facing the leaders of V4 countries. We all agree that free elections should take place in Belarus so that Belarusian people can decide for themselves. Thanks to the cooperation and solidarity of the V4 group countries, the fight for democracy in Belarus will undoubtedly gain momentum. In the case of Belarus, it is Poland that plays the leading role. These are projects that are supposed to support the Belarusian economy. There are also plans to rebuild the energy sector. There are also talks about a visa-free travel. A joint fight against the coronavirus pandemic and its economic consequences was also announced. Our economies are locomotives, engines of growth and economic development for the whole of Europe. As shown by the latest Eurostat data, the V4 countries, most of them, have recorded smaller GDP declines than Western Europe. The leaders of the V4 group countries also believe that the construction of the Russian-German gas pipeline Nord Stream 2, which reduces the safety of Central and Eastern Europe, should be stopped.
Polish artists in solidarity with Belarus. A unique concert, We Play for Belarus, took place in the building of the Polish television. TVP aired songs by Marek Grechuta or Czesław Niemen and, of course, famous Waltz by Jacek Kaczmarski.
There has never been such a concert before. Stars of the Polish and Belarusian music scene have performed, among others Edyta Górniak, Katarzyna Cerekwicka, Stanisław Sojka and Sławek Uniatowski. They sang songs by Marek Grechuta, Czesław Niemen and other recognized artists. Finally, Jacek Kaczmarski's song entitled Waltz was sung. It was the unofficial anthem of solidarity at a time when, just like today's Belarus, Poland fought for its freedom and democracy.
Kilkakrotnie tutaj się wzruszyłam w czasie tego koncertu.
I was touched several times during this concert. I could not control those emotions, especially at the very end of this wonderful finale when we all sang the Waltz by Jacek Kaczmarski together. The concert is a kind of message sent from Poland to Belarus, which says, we know what you are going through and we are with you. We show solidarity with the Belarusians, we remember about them, not only during this exceptional concert which took place, but we are with them all the time and we support the processes of democratization because it is important. It is an expression of solidarity, it is only a gesture, but it seems to me that it is important.
Belarusian Oman beats and detains more protesters in Belarus right now. Among them are several dozen journalists. As they say, the regime does everything to block the message about the current situation.
The brutally beaten driver of this car was arrested for almost a month. Yuri Kozhun protested against such injustice. The miner handcuffed himself in the mine over 300 meters below the surface. He was taken out by force. This is my protest against the rigged elections, against the law violations which take place all the time in Belarus. Protests in Belarus do not stop, but journalistic relations about what's happening in Minsk are silent. The Belarusian Nobel Peace Prize winner Svetlana Alexievich, together with journalists, appealed to the UN to send an observation mission to Belarus in the defense of the media. In just 2 weeks, 80 journalists were arrested. Here, Oman is trying to stop a BBC reporter. I am looking for the girl who grabbed my arm during the Sunday protest in Minsk, thus saving me from being stopped by the police. I did not have a chance to thank her. Women often protect men from the police who use less force against them. The country is in the midst of an economic crisis. Recently, Belarusians have liquidated deposits worth almost $2.5 billion in total.
9/11. Today is indeed symbolic. On September 11, 2001, the world held its breath. Terrorists attacked New York and Washington. Almost 3,000 people died. Today, due to the coronavirus pandemic, the celebrations were more modest and numerous restrictions were introduced.
President Donald Trump attended a ceremony in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where one of the planes hijacked by Al-Qaeda terrorists fell down. The other three hit the World Trade Center towers and the Pentagon. The readout of the names of 40 passengers of the United Airlines plane that crashed near Shanksville was the highlight of the ceremony, with President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump.
The men and women of Flight 93 were mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, husbands and wives. Nothing could have prepared them for the dreadful events of that morning. But when the moment came, when history called, they did not hesitate, they did not waver. 40 towering patriots rose up, took charge, made their stand, turned the tide, and changed the course of history forever.
The whole world remembers these tragic events today. The celebrations commemorating the 19th anniversary of the attacks on the World Trade Center were organized not only overseas, but also in Brussels. They take place in the North Atlantic Alliance headquarters. At exactly 2:46 p.m., a minute of silence was held in memory of the victims of the attack. It was at this hour on September the 11th, 2001, that the first of the hijacked planes hit one of the World Trade Center towers.
Speaking of pandemic, bad news on the fight against the coronavirus pandemic is coming from Europe countries. A record high daily increase of infections was recorded in the Czech Republic, Hungary, and France. As many as 1,382 new infections were identified among other southern neighbors.
There are 249 patients in hospitals in the Czech Republic. The condition of 64 is serious. As the Czech Minister of Health pointed out, the worsening of the epidemic situation should not be associated with the return of students to school, because among the newly infected, only 7% are children under 15 years of age. In Hungary, in the past 24 hours, 718 new COVID-19 cases and 1 death was reported. Prime Minister Viktor Orbán announced that during the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic, restrictions severe as during the first wave are not planned. The goal is to preserve the proper functioning of the country. In France, on the other hand, almost 10,000 new infections and 19 deaths were reported in the last day. More than 5,000 patients suffering from COVID-19 are in hospitals. In connection with the development of the pandemic, the Security Council met in Paris. The Prime Minister of France announced that it is possible to introduce new restrictions in almost half of the country due to the worsening situation related to the coronavirus pandemic.
This is Flash News, and there is still more to come. Another day, another fire in an immigration camp on the Greek island of Lesbos. According to the Greek services, the fire was set by the immigrants themselves. Dissatisfied with the conditions they found in Europe, violent clashes with the police, just like in other countries that accepted illegal immigrants, took place.
Chaos, panic, flames. This is another fire of Europe's largest immigrant camp on the Greek island of Lesbos. The fire spread rapidly and completely destroyed the place where migrants from Africa and Middle East were arriving in large numbers. After taking control of the fire in the camp, the most important objective is to take control over the chaos on the island and provide security to all citizens. There were clashes with the police during the evacuation. Migrants were throwing stones and the policemen answered with tear gas. There is no justification for such brutal attacks against Greek services from the inhabitants of the camp. According to Greek services, the overcrowded camp was set on fire by illegal migrants because they wanted to protest against the quarantine imposed on the camp after cases of COVID-19 were found in the camp. Before the fire, clashes erupted every single day, and each day new boats full of migrants arrived on the island.
This cannot be our final destination. Like, we cannot be sleeping under this place like this. You know, it's not human. It's not human. We are looking for international protection.
Similar riots as in Greece occurred everywhere where the doors to Islamic migrants were wide open, including in France, Germany and Sweden.
And finally, something that women love the most, or so-called what they love the most. It's an over 100-carat, very rare white diamond ring, which soon to be available at Sotheby's auction in Hong Kong. It is the second largest oval diamond of its kind in the history It will be going under the hammer. The largest one, just to recall, more than 180 carats diamond reached a record high price of almost $31 million 7 years ago.
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
We're looking at an exceptional diamond. It's 102.39 carats. D color, which is the best color that you can possibly have. Flawless clarity, which means there's not a single inclusion or blemish on the diamond. It's going to be offered for auction in our Hong Kong sale on October 5th. And really exceptionally, we're offering it without reserve and without an estimate.
But square.
So if you think about all the diamonds in the world, a teeny tiny, infinitesimally small sliver ever are over 100 carats. And of those, even very fewer of those are perfect color and perfect clarity. In fact, in the history of auctions, there have only been 8 that have ever been auctioned that are over 100 carats, D color and flawless clarity, and this is the 8th one.
Beautiful. That's everything for now. Thank you very much for joining us in Flash News. See you tomorrow, same time. And now, have a beautiful night.